To anyone who's out there watching, this is the Clark PTO meeting on Monday, February 8th at 5:30 p.m. We are doing this meeting on Zoom, and it will be recorded and uploaded to our YouTube channel. It is also being streamed live on Facebook. So anyone who's watching it on Facebook, we're not responding to comments or reading them during the meeting. If you'd like to join the meeting, please do the Zoom link and join in. I have to admit you, and while I'm talking, I sometimes miss a few people, so please apologize for my tardiness. We've got some people coming in. That's nice to see. Let's see, anybody else? I'm also still a little technologically challenged with group Zoom, so I'm sort of changing between the gallery view and the speaker view to see how they're seeing it on Facebook as well. So, okay, well, I might as well go ahead and get started. Just to say it again, this is being recorded and to be put on YouTube later, which I have a line item to discuss if people have a problem with that for future, but anyway. So we were going to start off with just a quick welcome, and I'm Joey Conover. I'm the current president of the PTO. Our other treasurer and secretary are here as well. Catherine Gray is an ESL teacher at Clark. She is the secretary, and Amanda Olms is the treasurer. We still don't have a vice president, so that's available. And we've got various parents and teachers joining in, and we also have Mr. Leatherwood. He just stepped off for a moment, but he said that Mr. Tillman's going to try to make it, but he got waylaid with something. So we sort of normally start out with a little presentation by the administration, the principal and the vice principal, and then we start doing some administrative issues, and we'll always have time for questions if people have them. So you can write in the chat or just go like this or whatever, you know. Mr. Leatherwood, are you still there?
I am here.
Okay, so obviously we know there was a large announcement made at the end of the day on Friday about going back to school in a month. And I'm sure everyone's feeling pretty overwhelmed right now, but I thought you could just speak a little bit about that and where the school's at.
I guess before I start, you know, as I've gotten older, I tried to look at things through a lens where, you know, it's look at good and you look at tough. And at this point, our opening is supposed to be on the 8th. You know, I think everybody knows by now that originally we were supposed to open on the, just with pre-K through 2, but the change was made to include all the grades. And most of our preparation in the beginning was addressing the opening that we thought we would have with this, the second grade. It's created a lot of challenges for us quickly, and for as Mr. Tillman, for the staffs as well as parents as they anticipate kids coming back. What I was going to say is that I'm looking at the picture, and it's going to put us with about 3 weeks in March, probably. If they still do the spring break, it's going to be 3 weeks in April and probably 4 weeks in May. So around 10 or 11 weeks that we'll have of in-person learning. I got a little background in the back. Let me get that off. Hold on for just a second. But at any rate, Mr.
I guess I'll pick up from there. What was the I'm sorry, the question. I do have a quick update in PowerPoint that I could share if you are all willing to view. But I do have just a few updates you know, that we've been planning on since the the announcement on Friday. So I can share if I have that opportunity to. I don't know if it's the right point to do that or not, but Ms. Jody.
I just changed it, I think, so that you can share. Can you let me know?
Yes, I can. All right. Sure. All right, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, just a few quick updates. It's only about 9 or 10 slides. But basically, we're just reviewing some of the updates for implications of the March 8th decision to come back for face-to-face learning for pre-K through 6th grade students, in our case, pre-K through 4th grade. As you already know, and then I shared in past, we shared in past Q&As that HR has approved certain staff members with basically that have given medical documentation to HR about why they should stay home, and we, of course, are proving that, and we are standing by that as far as a division, as making sure those individuals that need to stay home medically are doing so. As far as classroom teachers, they will not be doing both. They're not doing 50% online, 50% in person. Classroom teachers are doing 100% virtual or 100% in person. We are trying our best. I know we will be listening to case-by-case basis as far as requests on changing their family intent on face-to-face or virtual learning, because again, staffing and classrooms and all of those planning has been done a while back when this process has started. We are staying packed on that as far as intents. We will be looking at it case-by-case basis, depending on, first off, the occupancy of that class, that grade level, that classroom. If we could safely add another person or change, we will do that if we can. Again, it'll be also based off of the staffing scenarios that we have already set in place as well. Our goal, if a student is chose in person, and their teacher also intended to come back in person, our goal was to make sure that those students stayed with those teachers. So in-person students would stay with their in-person teacher. Of course, in some cases, that might not be the situation because of the numbers coming back in certain classes, and making sure our classes are equitable and they're equally represented by, you know, the diverse representation that we do have at Clark. Our specialist teachers and our specialists, they do have the opportunity to support both in-person learners and virtual learners. And that also goes for our special education teachers. There's possibilities where they will be supporting both in-person and virtual learning. There are some situations where special education teachers may be changing or redistributing their caseloads, just so, again, we are maximizing the staff, and we are still meeting our students' needs. The final staffing plans the final staffing scenarios are ongoing. We're currently finishing up that process, and we will be sharing that out as far as the final staffing in class rosters starting next week. As far as building, and again, some of the stuff is being repeated from our last Q&A, but I see we do have a few new people, but there will be some class changes, meaning, you know, if your families are already familiar with Clark, some of the class or grade level hallways may not be the same. And again, that was determined on the amount of students coming back, the amount of students that class can fit, and things of that nature. As we know, as I said before, we have the most students in 1st and 4th grade. So those classes needed bigger classes. So the biggest change with 4th grade is that our 2 in-person 4th grade classes will be housed upstairs on the red floor in the old Spanish room, and right next door to it, which are both the biggest rooms in the entire school. We are also in a good place as far as bathrooms are concerned. Every class, we're in a place where every single class will have an actual bathroom within their classroom. So that helps us out tremendously, because we don't have to come up or create actual bathroom schedules like some other schools may have to do. Again, that's it's very great. It's good for us, and we're definitely thankful for that our students would be able to, of course, ask and use the bathroom as pleased within their classrooms, of course, with cleaning in between. 2nd grade is excluded. That is the only, right now, those 2 in-person classes are the only 2 classes that do not have a bathroom in it, but they have 2 hallway bathrooms right outside on the 2nd grade hallway. And as of right now, I'm thinking 1 bathroom would be for 1 class, the other bathroom would be for the other 2nd grade class. So there's not a cross contamination in the bathroom just due to more than 1 class using the same bathroom. We are offering walk and talk breaks, and of course our normal routine recess per day. Masks will be worn at all times. That's including recess. Even when they're outside, masks will be worn at all times. There will be maskless breaks, but that is directed by the teacher, and those individuals or those students that need that break would have to inform their teacher. The teacher would basically make sure there's a significant amount of space between that student and any other students in the area, and will allow that student to take a moment of a maskless break, of course separated from everyone else. As far as in the building, health and PE, that class will be the only specials class that our students will transition to for socially distanced PE in the gym or outside. Again, we shared before, I thought it was very important that our gym, our health and PE class is utilized the way it used to be, of course, but socially distant. Mr. P has been working hard on professional development for himself, and has been monitoring other PE teachers who have been successfully doing socially distanced PE in the gym or outside. Again, we both agreed that if our students have to basically stay in the same room all day, day in and day out, they could at least utilize health and PE the way it should be. Breakfast and lunch, it will be brought to the classrooms. We will not be utilizing our cafeteria. Our cafeteria will be like a storage area and another possibly like testing area or workspace for our staff. We will have learning labs around the building, just in case if a class needs to be relocated due to an in-class cleanup. Again, we can't plan for, not spills, but sicknesses within the the classroom or student vomiting and things like that. So with that said, we thought it was very important to have other classrooms set and ready just in case a whole class has to be displaced out of their home room, but they still have an area to work. So that has been set up as well around the building. Bus transportation. This is a very big. This is very big, very important to us because again, this isn't finalized yet. We haven't had final bus plans and things of that nature, but those the bus transportation lists are being finalized, and basically we will be those families will be receiving basically an acknowledgement that their students or their families was selected to ride the bus. Again, masks will be mandatory and temperature checks will be mandatory prior to getting on the bus. Bus capacity will not be the same. So we will request and motivate families to possibly either, walk or bike ride or scooter ride to school or car ride to school to help with the bus transportation and keeping our kids safe on the bus. Individuals that are getting on the bus, we're going to ask our families that they do their best to join their students as they wait for the bus, because again, if they do not pass that temperature check, they will not be allowed to ride on the bus to school. So that's going to be a major change, especially for our older students and their families, where some of them were used to waiting on the bus alone at the bus stop. We're going to try our best to motivate our families to join their students to the bus. Of course, as we know, there will be more car riders or walkers to school. So we know traffic control will increased, especially on the walker side or the on the Monticello side of the building. We are looking for an increase of students and families walking to school. We will continue, and we introduced this incentive towards the end of the year, like right before we close down, but the Clark Bees on the Fly walking incentive will continue to hopefully just give some more incentive for those walkers, those students walking to school. Let me go back one. All right, as far as health and safety, we do have a secondary nursing clinic, which we're calling the nurse station. That is going to be located in our the old gifted room, and that room, that nurse station, will be utilized for students who may have to be in isolation due to becoming sick or showing symptoms during the school day. We will be asking our parents if parents are called to pick up a student because again, they're not feeling well or they're showing symptoms. We're going to take it very seriously that our parents come in a timely manner to pick up their students. There were times in years past where students waited a whole half a day to be picked up by a parent. We really will not be able to. We can't have that, and we will have to really truly work together with this. And our parents are going to have to know how important it is that if they're called by Miss Nurse Amy or an administrator, that they come and pick up their student in a timely manner. And when they do, or if any parent comes to pick up early, they will come to the main office and we will give further direction on meeting the student. We just want to try our best to respect privacy, health privacy, and things of that nature. So we want to do it in a way that, again, respects the family and the student that may be going home sick. Oh, building access. There will be no visitors. The parents will not be allowed to come will not be allowed to come into the building once the school days start. Even if a student they're bringing a student late, the student will have that temperature check at the main door. Again, parent will have to wait with their student until they are cleared to come into the building. And that is going to be it as far as the parents coming up to the school. The main office will be shut down for parent visitors. Same thing with lunch. We're not doing birthday celebrations as far as parents coming in and sharing cupcakes and cakes with the class and things like that. That will not be happening going forward. Of course, we will celebrate our students if it's their birthday or if anything is going on that's very important in their life. We will still celebrate them and still make them feel special. But again, we are going to be doing that without the parent in the building. This is just basically talking about our scheduling. This was our schedule prior to this school year. We will be going back to that schedule, and basically the transportation, student drop off, all that will be starting at 7:30. Friday will also be will continue to be asynchronous. So Friday will be similar to basically what it is now. We just have our morning announcements and morning meetings, and then the rest of the day we'll have asynchronous activities just like it is now. So Fridays will pretty much stay the same. As far as masks, supplies and masks. As far as supplies and masks, we will not be making use of cubbies or I guess like book bag areas and things like that, because again, a lot of those within the classroom are very close together. So if we were using cubbies and things like that, those would be high, touched areas. And again, we need that space for more desks to fit as many students as we can safely in the classroom. So we will not be utilizing cubbies within our classes. Each student will have their own materials bin or box right at the foot of their desk or under their desk to help with storing their personal materials. Of course, book bags can just really be placed on the back of the chair like we all used to do when we were in school, pretty much, as far as the book bags on the back of the chair. So we'll be going back to that to just maintain the safety and our students not being close together in high touched areas of the school. As far as your bins that are at home, so families that have received materials for at home, as far as storing bins and things like that, you will not have to worry about returning that. That is yours for at home. That will stay home for just for storage at home. Your child will get a brand new one and a much bigger one at that as well for them in school. Books, library books and things like that, similar to what it is now with our library checkout. Those books, when they're returned to school, they go through a certain amount of days of isolation before we put it back in rotation in order to be checked back out again. We will, when we do get ready, and this is something for all of our parents to think about, just helping out with boxes of tissues. If we could try to maybe when we first start back up, if you could just at home just have some boxes of tissues ready for your child, and it can help out with our in-school inventory of boxes of tissues, similar to previous years where you sent in a box of tissue or two with your student to support with our boxes of tissue inventory. I'm thinking instead of just our parents our teachers just taking all the boxes of tissues and storing it away, each student will maintain their own personal box or pouch of tissues within their personal learning area. So we don't have to worry about, again, going back and forth or walking across the room to go get tissue and things like that, your student will already have their personal pouch or their box with them at their desk. As far as instruction, the goal is to keep pacing and instruction for both online and in person to match up as much as possible, so we can make sure that our students are getting a equitable opportunity to learn, no matter what option that the family chose. We will continue to use the platforms that we've been using. Some of those platforms, actually pretty much all of those platforms can work in both models, and especially maintaining the collaborative approach that some of our students are going through now, that those engage in collaborative platforms and lesson extensions still could be used even if your student is face-to-face. As far as our first week back, basically it's almost going to, go back to us starting school again for the most part, getting our routines back in order, learning the new schedule and, community-based routines and learning their new classmates and building up that class community that our teachers are going to have to redo in some situations. Of course, students that are with their same in-person teacher as they did virtually, that'll ease that transition, but there will still be some expectations that are going to obviously change from virtual to in-person. So that will be a major emphasis on that first week. Similar to the beginning of the school year, what we thought would only take a week of this took maybe a week or two or three in some cases. So just, again, have some patience with us and know that we're just trying our best to do what's best for their students and their classmates. Assessments, our MAP testing window will be in early March for third and fourth grade. Second grade was excluded from the first MAPS window. I'm waiting on a final clarification on if second grade again will be excluded from the MAPS window in March. SOLs, last year they were canceled at the end of the school year. This year, as of now, we will be going back to taking the SOLs in May as scheduled, but it would not have any say on accreditation decisions or anything like that. Every school across the state has waivers from the State Department as far as high stakes tests and SOLs is concerned. So it would just really just be a baseline or benchmark for the future. All right, just a couple of important dates. This, and do I have that date right? I just want to make sure that date is right real quick. Yeah, it's Friday. Friday is going to be the last date for families to request a change in their learning intent. Again, we are only making decisions solely based on class occupancy restrictions, staffing. We have transfers in coming that have already intended to be in person from different schools. So we have to accommodate those students as well. So again, it is going to be solely based on the space that we have available. And we are working throughout this entire week with that. After Friday announcement, both myself, Ms. Anderson, Mr. Leatherwood's emails are pretty full with questions and possible, asking or asking for requests to change. So again, we will be looking at that case by case and solely based off safety and what's best for each class going forward. The week of the 15th, which is next week, we will begin notifying families and we will start that process of notifying families of, you know, their new class teacher, if there is a new class teacher, and their virtual teacher if they chose virtual learning. That following week, teachers will have the okay to start reaching out to their families and just sharing, you know, introduction info sheets with those families, whether it's just like a picture, a headshot, and, you know, just introducing themselves to their new families, which most of them did during our first meet and greet. So basically, they'll just be maybe possibly revising their first info sheet that they gave at their first meet and greet, or just using the same one and just pushing it out to their new families. March 1st through the 5th, that will now, like we said in the past, that our asynchronous week would be that week prior to us, whenever we got the okay to come back in person. So now, again, that asynchronous week has changed to March 1st to the 5th, since we finally have the, you know, the okay to start back on the 8th. So our asynchronous week will be 1st through the 5th, and that's going to be basically how we treat Fridays. It will be treated like that every single day that week. So you'll have your morning meetings, you know, time to review like some safety mitigations and videos, you know, pertaining to Clark School and what's new at Clark, and, you know, give those students and teachers that opportunity to, if, you know, if they are closing out with their teacher in their class, that opportunity to, you know, just have a good closeout with their current classmates if they are transitioning to a different class. Even though we know our time is slotted for 30 minutes for our morning meetings, we know some of these during that week, some of those days might go over that 30 minutes. So we don't want parents or our students to feel rushed off by our teachers in any way. If a class feels, or a teacher feels that her class or his class needs a few more minutes in their morning meeting that morning, so be it. That class will use up more time for that morning meeting. Just so, again, we're doing what's best for our students, their mental health, their feelings, and letting them know that they have a voice as well. And they also have that time to, you know, really enjoy the individuals that they are currently with. Our goal will be to get out our final master schedule that week, which is our async week. We know they're just like coming into the school year, there was changes to the master schedule all the way up, pretty much up to the first day of school. Our goal is not to have that in this point in time, but just know that we are working on that, and our goal is to get out the master schedules and student schedules to our families that week. And that, I'm going to stop sharing so I could actually see some people now. All right, and that was the end of my updates, you know, since Friday. And I just wanted to just give you the opportunity, if you didn't, you know, if I missed out something, or if you want more clarification, I'm open for it.
Can I ask
Go
you a
ahead,
question? Is that all right?
Go ahead.
Quick question, actually, well, first, thank you, Mr. Tillman. That's an incredible amount of detail in a very short amount of time, and it is very clear that you and the other folks are working extremely hard with a pretty radical change in plans in short time. So first, thanks. Two sort of practical questions. One, does that asynchronous week from March 1st to 5th, does that also apply to the kids who are remaining virtual? And two, could you talk a little bit more about the change in schedule for the kids who are remaining virtual, kind of also going from 8 to 2:30 now instead of 9:30 to 2:30?
Yeah, and I feel like, well, first off, yes, the that asynchronous week will be for everybody. because that, because those transitions are going to be happening for most of our students, where, some of them might be transitioning to a different virtual classroom. But yes, that's going to be for everybody. And as far as the actual scheduling, our goal is to keep both virtual and in-person schedules pretty much neck and neck or hand in hand with each other. So again, it just helps our students and our teachers, and it protects our planning that goes on as well for teachers. If those schedules didn't match up, it will be hard for like PLC work and planning, team planning that teachers will need throughout the day. We do know that we are aware that for everyone, the amount of time being added, at this point of the school year, where we're it's only, like Mr. Leatherwood said earlier, there's only, if you really look at it, it's not that much time left in the school year if you really mapping it out. But we know that'll be a very big change, and teachers will, they're going to continue to do what's best for their class, as far as brain breaks and things like that, just to break up some of that time. They will have they have the authority and of recognizing what's best for their students at that time. If it's their virtual class and they need a virtual brain break to step away for 5 minutes and come back, or if it's in person and going back to when I was school, the head down on the desk for 15 minutes, a quick eyes closed break on the desk that we used to do. Things like that can be utilized to help with that. We do know we will be asking a lot on our teachers and our students and our families with the amount of time that's about to be added back to the schedules.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, wow.
I actually have one. I was thinking about Chromebooks. Are they supposed to bring them home? Do they stay home all the time? How does that work if they're being asynchronous on Fridays?
Yeah, we're still waiting on clarification on Chromebooks. Originally, the plans with Chromebooks, it was theirs for the year, but now, again, we just need to, just think about safety mitigation, and if a Chromebook is coming from home back into the building, making sure it's disinfected and cleaned, and same thing when it's going back home. So we are going to get a final on that. I don't know if it will be like, possibility, and again, I'm not making the decision, so don't quote me on this, but like, I don't know if there may be a possibility that certain younger grade levels could possibly get a separate Chromebook maybe for at home, and then the one that's at home can stay there, but we have an in-person cart or cow of laptops that those classes could use in person. But again, we would have to make sure our inventory is good in person to, finalize that we could do that for certain grade levels. And again, with our older students, if we couldn't do that plan for every single grade, hopefully our older students we could be in a place where we could disinfect and make sure our laptops and Chromebooks are disinfected, prior to them coming in. But there is no final say on Chromebooks just yet.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Hey, Mr. Tillman, we were a few
Yeah, how you doing, Mr. Robin?
Sorry, man. So I'm not sure if you went over this yet or not, but can you go over how car line and bus line and arrival for walkers is going to go? Because I know that the bus riders will have their temperatures checked when they get on the bus, but car riders and walkers will have their temperatures checked at school, and you don't really, and their intermingling is, kind of funny, right?
Yeah, we are, and we're going to stress this, that no and I know that we will have walkers on the Belmont side, but the Belmont entrance is only going to be for bus riders, since they have already got the okay to come right to school and go right in. Our walkers, scooters, and like bike riders, first off, scooters and bike riders would use the cafeteria entrance. There's like a little ramp that goes down into a cafeteria where we will have storage if needed for bike riders or scooters belongings. And same thing, at the end of the day, they would exit that way as well. And we are going to ask all of our walkers use the Monticello side, where we will have staff members there with temperature check, touchless thermometers, and the green temperature check cards for them to go, to get the okay to go in to their classes. Truthfully, like, even if our walkers use the bike ride or scooter location, which is the cafeteria entrance, that's not a big deal, because all those students still have to go through that temperature check. It's just that there's no case where a walker or a car rider should be going through the Belmont side of the building at all. Now, the other entrances and exits, we have a little, wiggle room, especially with the cafeteria. We may have an increase in some bike riders and scooters possibly, but I don't see that increase being as much as the walkers increase will be.
Super helpful. Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to get with you with some more incentive, some more walking incentives too. So I'm gonna be in your inbox real soon, Mr. Robin.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Please.
Someone in the chat says, what are the pre-K school hours in person?
The pre-K hours, they are still, the pre-K administration, Sheila Sparks, and division leads are still making final decisions on pre-K hours. I know that, years past, like nap time was in there as well. I'm not sure if that's going to be taken out, and maybe they leave a little earlier. There's little things that they're throwing around about preschool in their schedule. So I would rather not give any definites on pre-K just yet, as far as their times.
Okay.
But that will definitely be communicated to you, and it won't be the day before we start.
Okay. Nobody else has any questions now. I thought we could go through some other stuff, and people will probably think of things as we go and can stick it in the chat, or we can talk about it at the end. Okay. I was just going to do a quick legal review of the minutes from the last meeting. I posted them in the chat. They're on clarkbeespto.org. And we don't really still have our bylaws approved, so our voting for this is not really clear except for who's in attendance. But I did send them to the treasurer and the secretary prior to the meeting. So if anybody has any questions about the minutes, please speak. All in favor of approving as written, say aye. All opposed? Okay. The minutes are accepted. I just wanted to post a notice that we're going to have the elections for officers in April, at the April meeting in 2 months. As I just mentioned, the bylaws, Tim Freilich, who's on the meeting, actually did a nice edit, but we literally just have not had the time or the organization to confirm that. So maybe, Tim, I'll touch base with you again on that. I just wanted to make a quick note that I made a decision to make these recorded meetings and to post them on Facebook and on YouTube, but didn't get a lot of feedback from other people. So let me know in the Facebook chat or send me an email or tell me right now if you have thoughts about that. I'm trying to increase viewership, which tonight is record breaking, just so everybody knows. But I think it's the content that brought people tonight. So just let me know if this whole new virtual PTO you guys think is a good idea. I personally like it. Going back in person, I think this is a way for a lot of people who would prefer to be at home to stay at home, and maybe for us just to organize social events on other nights and not have this be a social event. But does anybody have any comments about that? Nope. Does anybody want to raise their hand if they think we should keep doing these virtually if we go back in person? Keep it virtual? Who thinks we should do it in person? Maybe Catherine? No? Okay.
Where would you
Maybe
do it in
next
person?
I mean,
year. Yeah,
I guess
Would that-
I actually didn't think about this. I was more trying to figure out how to make the virtual meetings better, but then in this meeting, it occurred to me that at some point we would be in person. You're right. We're not doing virtual, in-person meetings now.
I think it's helpful from a childcare perspective, honestly,
I
to at least
agree.
have the option.
Yeah.
If you, yeah. So that I think is actually kind of useful.
You mean keeping it virtual?
Yeah, or at least being
Right.
able to dial in virtually if you can't
Yeah.
get there in person.
I feel like that's been the consensus in general, that everybody's happy with the way this has gone. So, but let me know if you think there's a different way we could be doing it virtually, I guess, is what I'm asking for
Well,
feedback on.
I can say that whether we're in person or not, our staff will continue all staff meetings virtually. So if that helps with this, yeah, we're staying on pack with virtual meetings.
That's great. Okay, good. Well, I think there have been a lot of benefits about, the professional changes that have come through COVID. So, and any other way that people can push out these meetings, let me know. I think there's community leaders who are out there who could encourage other people. And we had some people on Facebook do that tonight. So let's keep that up. Okay, Amanda has financials, which I posted in the chat and also are on clarkbeespto.org if you want to look at that.
Are you able to share that?
Yeah, can you do that?
Yeah, are you just like share your screen with it up there, or I can try. I don't know if I'm allowed to share my screen.
I think I already made it, so you can.
Okay. Okay. Right. I don't know if you can see that. All right, so financials, our total between our two bank accounts is almost exactly where we were last month. We spent a good amount, but we also got our dividends that we get quarterly from our CACF account. And that was almost about $3,000 in dividends just from the last quarter, which is great. And we got one direct donation into our CACF account, which is nice. And then we've spent a lot more of our virtual learning, our joint fund. So we've spent almost $10,000 so far of the $15,000 that we've received. And so we have a couple things that we've said we would spend it on still. I think we said we could spend $1,000 on masks for students. I don't know where we're at with that now that we are actually going back in person. But overall this year, we've still taken in $9,000 more than we have spent. So we're definitely in a good place. We'll spend a good amount on the teacher appreciation cards that we're about to send out. But yeah, we have plenty that we can use.
Yeah, so I just want to bring this up again. We are actually sitting on a fair amount of money. And the joint PTO fund is a thing that was raised, a fund that was raised jointly between the 6 elementary schools, Walker, Buford, and CHS, and the Lugo McGinnis Academy. And we ended up getting about $17,000 that's designated to us. We haven't received all the funding right to the PTO yet, but we spent about $10,000 of that. And we also have this other money. So I think part of the reason we didn't spend it all, there's a little committee that's largely school staff and me on there. We haven't spent it all because we were trying to figure out what was happening with going back to school and trying to help students who may end up having differential needs that we need to meet when they come back. So we've talked some about hiring more tutors or doing something, but there's some logistic questions about that. So I don't know, Mr. Tillman could maybe speak a little bit more about that, but we're sort of sitting on these reserve funds to spend, and we just want to make sure the school is aware that we have these available. And it's almost to the level that we could, you know, hire a part-time, another staff member if needed, you know, but I'm not necessarily saying that's what it should be spent on. Maybe we could do significant outdoor equipment or music instruments, which we never ended up buying last year, which was a discussion. So
I do know that Mr. P is on the call, and he did have a few questions about requests that he had put in the past for, you know, equipment, and think like something dealing with like a balance beam and or different things he had requested just to support with possible like outdoor reset, outdoor PE or recess. So Mr. P, are you on?
Yes,
Right.
I'm here. I've
Okay.
just got a really rough connection. We were talking about the balance beams, the wooden shaped ones from the beginning of the year. And I remember the last communication with that being that you guys were going to order them. So I don't know if that ever went through. And then the stones, and I was going to put in out of my PE fund, possibly for a few small items like paint for the grass and maybe some strap lines and stuff between trees. And I just want more resources out there for the kids during recess, and kind of helping to zone things off.
Yep.
So,
I apologize if, sorry, go ahead, Catherine.
Oh, just we have ordered the playground equipment. It should be delivered within this month. We've had a hard time coordinating with Parks and Rec. I guess it took a couple years for the basketball hoops to be installed. I can let people know when it's time to send emails or write letters asking, but right now we don't have the equipment, so they won't put us on the schedule, but it should be here soon. It's being shipped.
And the boulders thing I still would like to do. That's just been on me, not making it a priority. So now that we're going back, I will put that higher on my list for sure. But go ahead and fill out, Mr. P, that form for the joint PTO fund. That's helpful to help us keep track of requests. And email it to Ms. Anderson. That would be good, or to me directly.
And so since that order has already been put in and stuff like that, so that's documented in this budget that just that was just shown.
Yeah.
So that, all right. So okay. So I guess that Mr. P is in a place where he could, you know, request some more things, right? Since that's
Yeah.
I just wanted, I mean, because, you know, again, I know his mind is rolling on a lot of different things of how we could continue to keep health and PE at the forefront, and a safe health and PE for our students as well. So I know that he might need some more resources as well to maintain a safe health and PE class for all of our classes.
And also recess equipment. If we need more like grade and class specific recess equipment, we might want to approve spending some funds to buy each teacher their own set of equipment, so there's not as much cross class sharing.
Yeah, and I actually, that was a bullet point that I definitely left off of that. But as far as recess, we were thinking recess would be pretty much a little bit more structured, as far as like students really truly would not have the opportunity to just be going all over the place and touching everything, and following each other and touching things behind each other. So it would be almost like a rotation, similar to like almost like a field day or a field day event type of thing, where each class has their own area, and then they would rotate each day to a different area. So each class has a equal opportunity to, utilize each of the areas. So again, Mrs. Craig has also reached out to the schoolyard garden team of how we could utilize that a part of recess too. And I'm thinking like chalk the walk or chalk the ground, drawing activities and things like that for students as well, to incorporate art. But yeah, we just have to really truly think of different ways of recess this year, because again, that it's not going to totally look the same. I mean, I still feel like our students will have fun, but it will be more structured as far as recess is concerned. Thinking like, red light, green light games, and like, things that, those things that we could do without the students constantly touching each other or constantly being right next to each other.
Yep. I just wanted to point out a couple other little things on the budget. We have a donor who's been paying our Zoom account. I would like to take that away from him so he doesn't have to do that. It's not that much a year. Can someone make a motion really quick that we do that?
Motion that we cover that with our PTO funds.
Okay. Seconded. All in favor?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. All in favor? Good. Okay, thanks. Also, just so you know, the Soul Feast is this week, and we've paid half of that. We have another half we're paying. There were a few families who wrote in after the deadline, unfortunately, and we didn't have extra. We had already submitted our numbers. So I did encourage people if they wanted. Apparently the restaurant is also doing free Fridays from 2 to 3:30. So people in the neighborhood can go there. That's JBD Catering and Events. And then we are doing a little teacher appreciation event in the next week for Valentine's Day. And we're providing a little financial incentive to them. And then I think that's it right now. Somebody asked about a rewards discrepancy. Okay, someone answered that. Yep, I'm not quite sure. It's hard for me to read the chat while I'm doing this. Amanda, is there something you want to say about that?
No, I think Stacy was just asking about the discrepancy between the projected and the actual grocery awards that we've received.
Okay.
And the projection was just that, a projection of how much we might get. And we just still have a couple checks that'll come in. It goes through August that will count it. So there's plenty of time to get more.
Okay. I'm going to move on from the Treasury stuff, but please know that this is a public statement to please provide ideas of how we could spend that money for the school and for improving education for the kids. Because as long as we don't do anything, it's just sitting there. And it used to provide some administrative funding for us to run the meetings, but now we're not spending that money much. So that's nice. Okay, just moving on the agenda. I have some Valentines to give you, Amanda. I don't know if you have enough already.
I don't. And I know Catherine's kids were going to make some. If anybody else's kids want to make some teacher appreciation Valentine's cards, we've got, I think we need 75, 80 or so. And I've got like 30-ish. So we definitely still need some more. I'm going to make my kids crank some more out. But if anybody else wants to contribute, that would be good. And I'm thinking that I'll write up a little, I'll send it to you, Joey, before I do it, but just a couple sentences to go with it. So they're not just receiving a kid's card and cash, that there'll also be a note like saying it's from the PTO. And so they don't wonder if it's just a random child sending them money. And then I assume we don't have a bunch of stamps. I'm going to buy stamps for that. And I emailed Miss Anderson this morning to get the list of teachers and addresses, but I haven't heard back yet. I think we lost Joey.
I'll make sure that we get back to you on the addresses.
Okay. Perfect.
Party time, party time.
Amanda, I hate to say this, but do we have a backup plan if like people do not come forth with another 50 cards or whatever?
I mean, I will bribe my kids if I need to. Like, it would be fine.
I can try to bribe my kids to make some more too.
Okay.
And I have 4 grandchildren that go to Clark, so we'll make sure we have at least 20 from us.
Oh, perfect. If anybody has them and wants to drop them off on my porch, I'm at 809 Belmont Avenue, or I can come pick them up if anybody needs me to. I don't know what else Joey has planned, but
She sent me a message. She's going to try to get back in.
Okay.
We can look at the agenda she sent out. She included a lot of links from CCS division updates in that agenda that's in the chat. I can re-share it in case people joined late. So in there's today's agenda. Are there any, Tim, it does say you're the host, so if, oh, and he's not at his computer, so he can't let her in. Okay. If there are any thoughts that people have about how to make the PTO run better, or yeah, Mr. Tillman, I see in chat, is there any way parents can offer support from a distance at this time for any school needs?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna create a just different things that can definitely help us just with just starting to get our students prepared and starting to have certain conversations with our students, just so they're starting to get mentally prepared. So right now, again, I'll definitely share it out, full Clark community of things that parents can do for us and support. As far as monetary things, I will share it. We have that weekly or bi-weekly funding meeting, PTO funding meeting on Tuesdays. I'll bring it up there as well. And I also want to give time to get some more feedback from our staff too, of different things that maybe that the PTO can help with as we transition back into in person. So I would like that to come, from more than just the administration staff, and get our teachers' voices heard as far as things that we could do to help them during this transition as well.
Sorry, I disappeared. Luckily, the meeting kept going. I thought the whole thing got canceled. So, did I interrupt you, Mr. Tillman?
No, we were just talking.
Okay.
Filling up some time. I was about to play some music. I was about to get the music pumped.
Some whole music. So I just to follow the agenda, because that helps us all. I just thought I'd give some updates about Black History Month. I think Mr. Tillman's been doing some nice shout outs in the morning, and I think a lot of the teachers are doing different things. on the Clark Bees PTO, on the Solfie sign up page, I put some local history links and stuff for families to look at. I recommend reading about local Black history. I think that's very important. Usually it's a national discussion. And then at the school board meeting on Thursday, that's all these links were that I put on the agenda. They presented the way the division's trying to change the curriculum a little bit to be more inclusive. So I recommend, if you didn't see the board meeting, to go look at some of these links. And I think, actually, I didn't hear this in the board meeting because I didn't hear the whole thing, but I guess the state of Virginia issued a document about gender policy. And I think they just stated that the city schools are going to try to figure out how they're going to adopt that policy for the next school year. So you might want to look at that. And then I've just got also on the Clark Bees PTO, just other resources, some from the counselor, some from other things I've pulled in town. There's still a lot of food resources available in the community for families that need it. School equipment, we talked about a fair amount, but I was just wondering about other return to school needs, like, would there be any outdoor classes that you guys are doing? You didn't talk about that at all, but having chairs or something outside, is that a useful thing?
It could be useful. I know we have that area that's closer to the Belmont side, like that has that like long, like that big, like I guess like that semicircle with like, I guess there's another garden area, I guess it is. And it had like different like little walking areas through it, but it's kind of like overran with like vegetation now. So it doesn't really, it looked like it could be a possible like outdoor sitting area or a class area.
Yeah, that's what it was for, I think.
Yeah. I guess like we could, we could utilize that. I know like some, like, Miss Craig in the past used like the garden area to do like her library lesson outside. But it's just like we're kind of, the space, like the outdoor space is kind of, it's not that great. I mean, I don't want to say it's not that great. It's we don't have a lot of it, especially if recess is going on at the same time. There's not, it's going to be hard for a class to actually focus over there if recess is going on at the same time as the teacher's trying to teach. But like for earlier classes that are, prior to recess, I mean, that area definitely can be utilized along as well as that area that I was talking about as far as like that secondary garden area, I guess. What was that area called? Did that have a name or anything?
I think there is, but I'm afraid I don't know. There's a woman named Sarah who helped start that little circular one you were talking about. And then I think City School Guard Garden, maybe, actually no, that Wild Garden, I don't know.
Is it the Memorial Garden, that one with the little stumps in there?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that's what,
Yeah, and normally we do like a fall day where we kind of clean that up and weed, and I don't know how people feel about that during COVID, trying to do some kind of community event outside, but I don't know. Mr. Leatherwood's looking dubious about that, but I won't push that right now.
I didn't intend to be dubious.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's just keep talking about needs that come up. And then just in terms of fundraising, I mean, we haven't been doing specific fundraising. We've just been spending the money that was raised in the fall, basically. I think that if we spend down the money we have, we can always go back out and fundraise for specific needs that come up too. So, and I think we will certainly want to be doing the race in the fall for sure. So, I'm just putting on here, Donors Choose still exists. I think sometimes teachers post on there. And there's still some family needs out there. A lot of those are getting filtered to us through the school counselor and social worker, and maybe some teachers as well. So we are still open to that. If families are needing things, that honestly, the social worker is really good, Ms. Snyder, about finding resources in town for utility assistance or food or even rental. That's kind of running out at this point to some degree, but it's always worth asking. So, and then I also just added a couple links on here for in the neighborhood. Sorry, there's people in my background. Cultivate Charlottesville, I think, has started a campaign to try to get healthier food in schools, which that was announced a week ago before it was announced they're going back to school. So I don't know where they are in their efforts in that, but that's what City Schoolyard Garden has gotten folded into what's now called Cultivate Charlottesville. And I think they're doing a fair amount, like at Friendship Court and at Clark and different places in our neighborhood. So they're worth checking out. And then I also just saw last week, a couple organizations were started to address some of the violence that had happened in the fall. So I just posted links to these two groups. One was called Peace in the Streets and another was called Buck Squad. I know it's not an education thing, but I just know there were some incidences of shooting in our Clark district and that affects our families. So I just wanted to give a shout out to these groups that are working on that. In terms of volunteer needs, I put on here Guinevere, I don't think she hasn't spoken up yet, but she's been getting groceries for the material pickup days, which is awesome. And I don't know if we're gonna have, I saw on the CCS calendar, there was a materials pickup day for March 3rd. I don't know if that gets canceled now.
No, it would still, March 3rd, as of now, yet we will still have materials pickup, but it will probably just transition to virtual classes only materials pickup. Those classes that are coming back in person, they'll already have their bin, they'll have their in-class bins, and the teachers could just slip that stuff in that would have gone home for materials pickup into their in-class bin. And the teachers will just give expectations of, all right, this is what's going home today after school, this is what's staying in your bin. But the virtual classes won't have that opportunity, so we would still do virtual class pickup for those classes that are virtual.
And did the food get picked up at the last one?
Yes, it did. I did store the leftovers in Mrs. Gray's the ESL office. So that so the leftovers are still they are there. But a lot of people did pick up. I think we had like a few peanut butter jars left and a couple of boxes of oatmeal.
So do we want to do that at the next one as well?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's totally up to you guys. I'm cool with that. But again, families were very thankful, and their little grab and go, grab a bag and grab what they want was pretty good. And it was kind of like families were kind of spaced out as far as coming to pick up stuff, so that kind of worked well. But if a lot of families came at the same time, that could have gotten a little tough with families being so close and trying to grab different things to put in the bag. But it worked out good this last time.
Okay.
We could still do it regardless of whether kids are in school or virtual, like the need for food, if it's still there, we could just think of another way to continue to provide that if it's, if like you're saying, Mr. Tillman, it's helpful.
Yeah, and I guess just as we get a little closer to the pickup, and we know that this plan is definitely for sure going through. I guess we could just word it in a way, if you need like possible food resources, you can come pick up. If you're in virtual class, you definitely should come pick up.
Okay.
And also Amanda and Catherine are integral to that effort. I just go pick up the groceries.
I had a couple of people ask about maybe buying tents for the school. what's going on with that need?
Yeah, previously we talked about it, you know, for the first meet and greets, but then, you know, it kind of got shelved because we had so many staff with tents that like was just showing up with tents. We had about like 15 tents that I had for meet and greets. We only needed like 6, but yeah, I think it would be cool for us to have in-house tents, especially, in the future. That also could be a possibility of opportunities of like small group areas outside, like have a tented area for small group. Yeah, for sure, like a small group class outside. Possibly in the future field day and things like that, that it could be utilized, future meet and greets and things like that. So for sure, I think that would definitely be an added bonus.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to give a little shout out to, I know the logistics of all this are a nightmare, but having a space, if there was teachers that wanted to have an outdoor class at some point, I would be very in favor of, and I think some other parents would as well. Okay. I think we're just open to questions now, and I just looked on the Facebook real quick, and it was asked, how will you enforce the mask rule?
Yeah, as far as masks, it's gonna, it's gonna be mandatory that our students wear masks. I know some families have already went into their intent because they know that their student rejects to wear masks. So that did go into some families thinking, but basically a student will have an opportunity to correct that behavior as far as keeping their mask on if they're purposely taking it off. If they continue to reject, we're gonna have to call the family for that student to be picked up. Wearing masks is going to be very important. And again, that's the whole school safety. And we got to keep each other safe. And so masks going forward until there's not a CDC guideline for it is going to be very important, and we're going to obey by the CDC guidelines of wearing masks. Again, all students will have the opportunity to correct any behavior, whatever the behavior is. But again, if they continually refuse, our staff will document it, I will document it, and the family will know about it, and they will be expected to pick their student up.
Someone else said, being in a learning pod, I can tell you the Chromebooks are big on germs. That's more of a comment to put out there. Someone else said, has the school reached out to homeschooled kids? We had registered at the beginning of the year, but then decided to homeschool. I'd love to know if we can go in person.
As far as homeschool, as far as homeschool is concerned, that goes through Dr. Kendra King in her office, as far as the approval process, and as far as re-registering and in person, I believe goes through her as well. And then she notates it and gives it back to us to accommodate those students who are possibly coming back into school. But as far as students that have been families have taken their students out of Clark, they're not in our our school messenger communication anymore, because they're not schooled at Clark anymore. So they wouldn't get our communications from Clark school level. They would still get the division communications. But again, if someone is requesting that, we ask that they request both Dr. King. We could make note of it by requesting it within our building. You could just call our main office, we'll note it, and talk to central office about that. But again, everything has been based solely off of our numbers now. The numbers after those students were taking out to homeschool, though, like decisions have been made based off of all of that.
Thanks. Somebody also just suggested using rubber mats as seating for outdoor use rather than having to invest in chairs and moving chairs, which I think is a creative idea.
Mhm.
Does anyone else on here have any questions, or have I missed your comments? Mr. Tillman, you might want to glance at the comments in the chat. Some people made some nice complimentary comments to you and to Mr. Leatherwood and the administration. So
Yeah, I did see that, and I did return. We really do appreciate everyone. Again, your continuous love for our Clark community, our school community, your patience with me and our administrative staff, and your ongoing positive reinforcement along the way. I know we've all had some pretty tough days this year, and we all are. Again, we're with you, and we just hope that you continue to be with us and support us along the way.
great. Well, thank you all, Mr. Leatherwood, Mr. Tillman, for coming tonight, and all the people who showed up. We really appreciate it. If there's anything you'd like to be talked about next month or before, let us know, and we'll be sure to get that on there. So everybody have a good night. Thanks
All right.
so much.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night.
See ya.
Good night.